This is the concept that we call the portable studio. When I started in this business, a documentary team had many people. Today, very often, the same work is done by two people, sometimes one behind the camera and one in front of the camera, and that makes for an acute lack of hands, and mostly also compounded by a lack of time and money. And how can you do reasonably good lighting under those conditions? So we came up with lighting kits that are smaller, lighter, more versatile, and still complex enough to allow for creative lighting. This is a mixture of soft lights, which can be used with small, medium, or larger softboxes, and highly precision focusing lights that allow for very good control of the backlight, a highly controllable kicker that you don't always need, and an extra light for the background. And for the background lighting, you can also use an imager, a projection attachment, which produces background patterns. There are 300 different patterns that you can choose from, or background effect filters to make the background more interesting. So let's look at a standard, very simple setup with these kind of lights, with a 5-light system. So here we have the key light, and here we're using a larger softbox to have gentle shadow and light transitions. And we can place that closer to the camera, but that makes the image look more flat. It robs it of dimension. So we explore how far away from the camera axis we can place the light in sideways direction, and also how far can we go up without losing the reflex in the eye, because that is very important to us, and at the same time giving the face more of a dimension, more depth. Next, we place another soft light as a fill light to balance the contrast, and choosing the intensity of the fill light makes it softer, gentler, more even, or more dramatic. The next one would be the backlight, and that we place first with the focusing light at full power. Then we find out if we want to catch the head, the hair, and the shoulders, whether that balances. Maybe somebody has white hair, then we may want to cut the top a little bit down. We can do that with a barn door. When we want to do that, then we focus the light a little bit closer to medium, and then the barn door edge becomes quite soft. Or we can do it with a half scrim, a wire net that covers the upper half of the light to take down the intensity on the head and leave more on the shoulders. And when we do that, usually we try to go more to the flood position of the light, because then the division between the part with lower intensity and the part with higher intensity comes out better. Then we place the kicker, which comes from the opposite side of the key light. And if we place that too far out of the camera axis, it could become dangerous. When the person is moving his head, could be the nose catches the kicker and causes disturbing effects, because it's on and off and on and off, and attracts all the attention. So we have to be a little careful. The kicker can also be very helpful if we want to make a rounder face look a little bit slimmer. And then we still have one extra light that we can use for the background. Either to place it straight onto the background, close the barn doors, create a strip of light, which usually looks a little bit better if it's placed in the lower part of the frame, or we can add the imager, the projection attachment, and project light and shadow patterns. The one that we see here is very often used. We've seen it all over, and I remind you, this is not the only one. There are 300 different patterns that you can choose from. Or you can even use background effects, where we have colored, structured filters to make the background more interesting, depending on what kind of a story you want to tell. So this is a basic setup of a 5-light version of the portable studio. The portable studio lighting kit can also be used for many more dramatic versions of lighting. You can create even a very beautiful effect just using a single light and creating just a light and shadow outline of the person that can be very moody, and sometimes that helps to tell the story. And then you just give it a little bit of fill light to balance. So that would be one version. Another version could be to use 2 soft lights opposite each other and take them further out from the camera axis so that the front part of the face looks a little bit darker. That can look very dramatic. It can look very interesting. It can bring out more character of a face. And then you just add a little bit of a fill in front, which could be reflected light, to give a little bit of reflection to the eye so that the eyes don't appear dead, and just to balance the contrast a little bit. Now, if you want to learn more about how to use Dedolights and what many other qualities they offer, watch our other videos.